When I first met my husband, over 30 years ago, when we first met each other, I'm 6'5" and he's 5'3", and in those days I wore 3-inch heels, 4-inch heels, 5-inch heels, and 6-inch platforms. I mean, why hide? Just think about that. Is there any reason for me to hide? Well, when we met each other, he thought I was a big and I thought he was a little And you know what? We were both right. But what do you think? The number one question people do ask me, come on. What do you think it is?
Do you play basketball?
Yeah, that is the number one question they ask me is, do you play basketball? And the basketball has been a big part of my life because when I was in high school in the mountains of Virginia, I played basketball, but not of my own volition when I got to high school, and it was 5 grades, by the way. And I have to tell you that because when you used to say, when I was in high school for 5 years, people said, oh, you were slow. My high school was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And when I got there, I have one brother, and he was a star athlete. He's 2.5 years older than me. And when I got to high school, his basketball coach came to me and said, Donna, do you know how to play basketball? And I said, no, sir, I don't. He said, would you like to learn? And I said, not particularly. Because I had grown 9 inches in 1 year. And when you grow that fast, I want you to think about this. You reach for a doorknob, and it's not where it was a minute ago. You take a step across, and you stumble. You go to the bathroom, and you flop down because it moved the last time it was further than it was. Now think about that. Our bones grow faster than our muscles, and are literally going into the 6th grade. My ligaments and tendons were ripping away from where they connected. The Achilles tendon goes down the back of the leg under the foot, and it felt like every time I took a step, it felt like there was a ice pick going up into my foot. And I was such a poor basketball player for the 5 years that I played basketball because I was a spot shooter since I couldn't dribble. I would come over and I would find my spot. Okay, here it is. And I'd wait for them to bring the ball to me. I did a double-handed overhead shot, okay? Take my time, nobody's going to take it away from me. I would shoot, and I would miss, and I would shoot, and I would miss, and I would shoot, and I would miss. Okay, I've got another spot. So, okay, here's the other spot. Okay, bring me the ball. And I would shoot, and finally, I'd make a basket. It'd go in. But at the end of every game, I would say, why am I such a poor basketball player? Why do I miss so many times? And why do I always screw up? I want to ask you a question. Do you ever ask yourself, why do I screw up? Let me fast forward 20 years, because what I learned was that the structure of the question anchored my belief that I was a poor basketball player. The way that I was asking those questions anchored that belief. And when we go forward 20 years to 1987, I was on Our Magazine daytime talk show with Gary Collins was the host. Now I know that was before most of your time. There are a few lovelies out there who remember the 87s. Please raise your hand because I'd like to know that there are a few. And when I was on the daytime talk show, I was on the show with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, Kareem is 7'2". No, Kareem is 7'2". Let's get that right. He's 7'2". And Gary Collins was 6'1". They said he wasn't. You know, it's like my brother. They said my brother says that he's 6'1". He wasn't that tall. No, he was not that tall. But Kareem and I were on, and Kareem asked me the question. He said, what? What question did he ask me? Did you play basketball? He asked me the basketball question. That's right. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar asked it. First time I ever heard it that I was really, really proud of it. Yes, sir. I play basketball. But I told him the story that I told you. And he said, well, how many points did you score over those 5 years? And I shared that with him. And he threw back his head and he started laughing. Now, we were in what's called the green room, which is where you go before you go on the show. It's kind of like a staging area. And he's laughing, and I feel like I'm shrinking. And he said, do you know Magic Johnson? And I said, of course. Magic in those days, in 1987, he was the most valuable player. And he said, this year, Magic had an average of 23 points. Does that mean that my 36-point average over 5 years meant I was good? He said, no. Not good. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said that I was a star. And in that moment, I had a mega mind shift because I realized that I had been counting the wrong things. I had been counting the number of times I missed rather than the number of times I scored. And I want to ask you, how many times do you do that to yourself? We focus on our mistakes rather than celebrating our wins. Here is my mission: to understand the mysteries of the mind, to control my thoughts and emotions rather than allowing them to control me. The mind shift exercises help shift away from negative thinking. But here's the biggest problem. People automatically focus on the wrong things, their mistakes, their troubles, their illnesses. So we focus on the wrong thing. What happens? We create more of the same, more mistakes, more troubles, more illnesses, and more pain. It is a fact. And here's the key. Self-talk and the way you ask yourself questions is vital. Your self-talk and the way you ask yourself questions is vital. Because here is my motto: the words you choose set yourself up for either success or failure. Remember the, oh, why did I play such a poor basketball game? That anchored that fact for 25 years that I was a poor basketball player, despite the reality. Here's the key, is that you can change your reality in the moment, in an instant, when you shift your mindset on demand. And you have the power to do that.